It's on. It's working.
Wes, when
Okay.
you have a tackle of the athletic ability of Christian Darrisaw, like, what does that allow you to do when you have someone who has got that level of athleticism? Like, does it give you more options on offense, or like, how does that benefit you?
Well, I mean, it benefits you on just about every play. I mean, when you're talking about pass protection, his ability to anchor, his ability to pull if we want to run crack scheme type plays where he's pulling around, his ability to cut off a three technique on the backside of a zone play. There's a lot of tackles just have a hard time getting there, and when they shut you off on the front side and the back's got to make that backside cut, that three techniques penetrated up the field. So he does a lot of things, and really him and Ezra have shown how strong they are as well, not just athletic. So we're looking forward to seeing those two. When we really get going here, working together on some combinations where they're pushing guys vertical as well.
Saw Ed Ingram getting some reps with the ones just in this walkthrough period. What have you seen from him as the pads came on? He's able to show you what he's got.
Really, all we've seen with Ed is just him to continue to improve every day, to understand the techniques that we're asking him to do. He's very stout. He's got a great anchor. Late in the rush when he gets on an edge, he's athletic enough to kind of get his feet on the ground and push guys out of the pocket, create some expansion in the pocket. We're really pleased with where he's at. He's just getting better every day.
Reed take some snaps at center over the past couple of days. What does it take for you to consider a player who's been playing guard a long time and try them out at center? What qualities do you need to see before you make that consideration?
Well, the snap is number one. Both under center and gun, there's got to be a comfort level with the quarterbacks. And then the communication is huge. The guy in there who's directing traffic. We have a little bit of a collaboration between our quarterback and our center. Our quarterback isn't pointing out every single thing. The center has a lot of ownership, and then the quarterback kind of can play the trump card based on the looks that he's seeing. Hey, this is the base call, and then the quarterback can trump it and get the call out to maybe a blitzer or whatever it may be. Chris has shown mentally that he knows the game, that he can communicate. Some guys are just mutes, they get up there, they don't speak, those aren't good center candidates. So, but Chris has done a nice job.
I know that you talked a while about, it's not a whiteout question.
All right.
I'm going to switch it up. I know you talked about Johnny and things that he does well on the field. What does he add to that tight ends room from kind of a demeanor, work ethic standpoint in the classroom?
Yeah, Johnny's one of the more steady players that I've ever coached, as far as just the same guy day in, day out, comes to work, prepares, studies. We'll ask the questions if he doesn't know, but there's not a lot of times he doesn't. And then to have a guy who had familiarity with the system to come in and kind of help those other guys, hey, when they say this is what they mean here. He's just a ultimate team guy. Been really pleased with him.
Pat Pete, you might have heard him say, talking about Justin Jefferson at 11 years old. Do you remember the first time you ever heard about Justin Jefferson? Was it in high school, in college, or what you thought like the very first time you heard about him?
I got to be honest. I'm really just grown up with the NFL. The first time I really knew about him was when he was coming out in the draft, and you're watching all these great players that are coming out from the college game, and you knew he was good. I didn't realize really how good he was until really you see him up close, and the way he moves, the way he can bend, his ability to play underneath himself, his ability to win deep, win short, win intermediate. He's just a really impressive guy. He's a really good person who works hard every day at it. He wants to be the best, and I think he's got a chance to be that at some point, if he can sustain long enough.
Kirk Cousins that you didn't know before you got here?
I was with Kirk in Washington, so I had some familiarity with Kirk, but really what I've been pleased with is, Kirk was a different player in Washington early in his career, where he didn't have as many starts under his belt, and kind of seeing his mental progression over the years, and with all the experiences he's had with different systems, different concepts, I've been really impressed with his ownership of our offense, bringing in something new.
Was telling us how he's seen a couple of displays of like subtle pocket movements. In years past, Kirk has talked about wanting to improvise more, and I was just wondering where if you can try to do too much and play outside of your best qualities, or if you're working on the subtle movements, or all it is necessary at times.
Yeah, I know Kirk has said that over the years, but one of his best traits is his ability to play in rhythm. He's got a really good base in the pocket. He's got great footwork. He can get open to throws, off play actions. He can come off. He can turn his back to the defense and throw with no hitch, with one hitch, or progress through with his feet tight. I think if you start, it's one thing to know when those opportunities come up and kind of feel it, but if you start trying to force, hey, I want to make more plays off schedule, ultimately I think you just have to be you. And if you start trying to force things, then we're taking sacks and we're just not playing football, being the player you are, and we believe that's good enough.
Wes, just on the tackles, when you're talking about Darrisaw, having had Andrew Whitworth in Los Angeles, kind of the gold standard of a tackle, is there a particular trait that he had that you would want to try to coach? Like really any young tackle, that's something that Andrew did the best that you would want to kind of explain to someone like Christian?
I mean, most of these great players are very large humans, but really what separates them is upstairs, the mental aspect of the game, and that's one thing. Whitworth was just really impressive. He was a leader as a player and the example that he showed, but the mental aspect, when the picture changes, the great players have an understanding of concepts, have an understanding of how to adjust, and I was very impressed with the time I spent with Andrew Whitworth.
We just had Pat Pete up here. How beneficial it is having your young receivers on offense being able to go against a savvy veteran like that, all the time in practice?
Well, I mean, Locke Hall of Famer on the other side. Not only the actual physical reps against him, but you guys know how Pat P is. I mean, he's a guy that's talking to guys both on defense, the corners over there. He's telling them from his experiences, and then talking to the young wideouts, saying, hey, here's how I jumped that route. Here's how I knew that you were going to break here. So that kind of stuff from a guy with his experience, his level of play is really invaluable, and that's really the culture of the NFL. When you see it, your veterans, your established guys got to bring these young guys up and try to accelerate that learning curve.